Chapter 13, Performance of a Lifetime. Kenny's eyes went big. The river stones, the fiery feeling, the river itself was ready to explode out of him. How could he let the villagers kill Graham after all of this? He had no more chess moves, no more strategies, no more books to help him. "No!" he yelped. "Don't kill him!" He bolted toward Graham and placed himself between the pitchfork and the dragon. "He's my best friend in the world. He never hurt any of you." Porky's father did not falter. "Get out of the way, kid. This devil has to be dealt with. That's a fact." "Actually," Kenny's mother said, "the fact is the boy's right, and you're going to have to go through both of us in order to get him." She stood behind her son between the pitchfork and the dragon. "And me too," the wizard said, removing his hat and revealing the familiar face of Kenny's father. He took his place behind Kenny, next to his wife, and placed both his hands on his son's shoulders. The audience was dead silent. Porky's father wavered a bit, but he held his ground. Next, George and Charlotte took their place behind Kenny's parents. Now they were all standing between the weapon and Graham. "Of course they're all standing here," Porky's father shouted to the crowd. "This is part of their little show, but this monster has to die before he kills one of us." Then Porky himself walked up and stood next to Kenny. He said to his roughened father, "It was a really cool battle. Do we have to kill him, Pa?" Porky's father blinked and stepped back. Silence. Not even the crickets were chirping. All Kenny could hear in his head was his own breathing, which panted in time with the sound of the dragon's immense heart beating rapidly. "Oh gosh," Kenny thought, "Graham's nervous, and when he's nervous..." A fireball puffed out of the dragon's mouth and engulfed Porky's dad. The dumbfounded lout stood there blinking, trying to comprehend what had just happened. All the hair had been singed off his body and the tips of his ears were smoking. From the back of the audience there came a hearty, loud laugh and a single clapping. "Encore! Encore!" Everyone turned and looked. Walking down the center aisle was His Royal Majesty, the King. He was clapping excitedly and laughing aloud with his two sons. The jester joined in, whistling and cheering and shouting, "Encore! Encore!" Kenny watched as the shouting spread throughout the entire crowd. Soon the hilltop was clamoring. "Encore! Encore! Encore!" The throngs of townsfolk surged forward onto the stage. They cheered and lifted George, Charlotte, Kenny's parents, and Kenny himself up onto their shoulders. They carried them all around the amphitheater, hurrahing and hailing the troupe. Kenny looked over at Graham, his best friend in the world, and smiled. The dragon responded in kind with his familiar toothy grin, then loaded a group of kids onto his back and pranced about the amphitheater with the rest of the party. The sun finally settled down below the hills, causing the clouds in the sky to fade to a deep red before cooling off into a lovely shade of lavender. All along the horizon, the little lamplights of Round Brook flickered on, but no one noticed. They were all up on Shepherd's Hill, celebrating the performance of a lifetime. That concludes Chapter 13.